Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of Crit Hit Reviews with your host, Arlyeon. On today's episode, I'll be talking about the review copy I received of Illusion Ray Studios' horror-infused adventure, The Beast Inside. Did this spooky title leave me wanting to curl up and hide, or was its beastly element a lack of fun? Well, The Beast Inside is a story told in two alternating parts, one placing you in the role of a CIA codebreaker named Adam, whose delicate work pertaining to the Cold War has forced him into seclusion along with his wife. An isolation that seems imperfect as it rapidly becomes apparent that their idyllic woodland retreat might leave them vulnerable more than anything. What may be worse, however, is the grim secrets tied to one Nicholas Hyde, a prior tenant of the home who seems haunted by seemingly literal specters of the past. Finding out just how these stories intertwine may rest at the heart of their mutual salvation. Overall, I actually found myself pretty damned invested in the story as it progressed, and remained genuinely interested in finding out more throughout the game, consuming all of the lore objects and notes that I could find as though they were gospel truths. Which, I mean, in a game that touched on psychological horror, that's probably not the wisest idea since unreliable narrators fit right in trope-wise, but, it's fine. In any case, I never really found my interest waning, and there was both a solid use of foreshadowing and red herrings to make the process of trying to guess certain narrative elements fun throughout the adventure, though an astute observer might be able to parse a number of key elements as they carry on, especially near the culmination of the game. If anything, however, the biggest issue I might have with the game on a story level is simply the fact that the ending boils down to a binary choice, which then branches into another pair of binary choices. This, combined with auto-saves and a lack of chapter select, does mean that you need to go through the entirety of the game to see all the permutations, unless you go to YouTube for the finales, and does make the overall endings have a little bit less impact, since it's mostly mechanical. While I did dub The Beast Inside a horror-infused adventure, that is a bit of a simplification, if only because the gameplay is absolutely riddled with snippets of mini-games and changes in what you can expect. The basics, however, are relatively consistent, given you're going to be spending a lot of time jogging through woods and exploring, albeit in a relatively linear fashion. There's things to find off the main route, sure, such as snippets of lore and hidden clues, which are small splurges of background information they get by holding certain key objects at weird angles. But I think the biggest reason I ended up rummaging around was to find matches and lantern oil, so I could be well stocked up in case the visibility ever got bad enough to require it. Spoilers, it didn't really. I actually fared pretty well on my reserves and managed to get triple digits on matches and fairly close on lantern oil, despite playing on the hardest difficulty. So you don't need to worry too much about wasting these resources. And honestly, you don't really need to worry too much about getting lost, since even in the segments where it could be hypothetically possible, you're armed with a scanner, which serves as a radar of sorts to hone you in on certain key locations and therefore helps to keep you from getting too lost. Well, in the Adam segments, since CIA stuff. Also, except for the moments where it jams up and requires to play like a weird shooter sequence minigame thing to keep things moving along. That said, there are puzzles to tackle in the game. Some are small leaps of logic or bits of exploration or item acquisitions you can do, then a small minigame or sequence to advance. However, puzzle-wise, the ones I enjoyed the most were the code-breaking elements, which were actually genuinely clever enigmas that crop up later on in the game, and which in themselves provide both an array of diverse conundrums in both executing them as well as seeking them out in certain sets of optional cases. I'm still sad I didn't get to find out more of them in the game, since they're amongst my favorite things to do mechanically. With all this said, however, the game isn't purely puzzle or travel-oriented. There is, in fact, a number of moments in the narrative where it doesn't strictly sate itself with just feeding you spooky ambience or jump scares as you explore the locale. It's in fact more than happy to go all in with chase segments against angry ghosts, stealth segments against angry ghosts, and even prepare a pair of boss-like conflicts against angry ghosts, though they're pretty distinct given one's a puzzle and the other changes up the game into Rootin' Tootin' Cowboy Shootin' Undead Edition, which is really weird when I think about it longer. It also makes me miss the pistol. Suffice to say, there's a decent amount of ways though that you can die in this game, which can actually end up feeling a bit punishing given that the loading times can hold you up for a fair bit, and there are quick time events leading to instantaneous death to contend with. That said, I may have ended up being more at odds with the lockpicking segments than the QTEs. Not only was it a finicky minigame in and of itself, there's a chase segment that has you lockpick during it, and punishes you for failure by killing you. I was stuck there for a while, repeating this segment until I got it right. Not that it absolves instant death QTEs, but seriously, not a fan of lockpicking on the clock.
But now for eternity.
What I actually really liked? The sound work in this game. The ambience was both pleasant to listen to when it wanted to be, as well as uncanny in other instances. I also was overall pleased with the quality of the character dialogue as well, even if it just emphasized just how much of an ass Adam is sometimes. Also, this is an immensely gorgeous game, and what you're seeing on this video does not do it justice because this is not the game at max settings, but what I could manage to run on my semi-potatoey graphics card. Remember, you can totally donate to my coffee to help support me so the videos will look better. So I apologize for that. One day, I'll totally afford a new one. Honest. Anyways, very pretty. Very pretty. The Beast Inside is ultimately a rather curious title. Mechanically, it can feel a bit scattered at times, but it managed to provide an altogether cinematic and entertaining experience. There are points in time where things felt flawed or a bit tedious, screw you lockpicking and QTEs, but ultimately, I was pretty excited to progress further through the stages in the story. While some of the elements did end up being a bit predictable, essentially, I'd still say The Beast Inside is a hit. Not perfect by any stretch of the means, and occasionally clunky, but still quite enjoyable despite all that when it comes down to it, and really, I just wish there was a chapter select or the ability to check out the other endings a bit easier. That's all, really. Anywho, thanks for tuning in. If you agree, disagree, or just have something to say to me, whether it be about developers you want to see me interview or games you'd like to see me review, feel free to comment, or about this video. And yes, for those interested in more indie reviews, developer interviews, podcasts, or Monday TTRPG content, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you know when there's a new release. There's also a Discord. You can click the link in the banner in the description to become a part of our community, the Crit Hit Cauldron. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel, we do have a coffee running now to help supplement funds for lovely editor Jack, and to make sure to continue to provide quality content. Again, check the description and the banner for them links. Anyways, I'll catch you on the next episode of Crit Hit. Genuinely take care till then, folks. See ya!